Hello guys, welcome to my channel AK Tech Services. So in this video we are going to see how to create a cam and follower mechanism. As same as the previous videos, in this video is also going to have three different sections. In first section we are going to see how to create the parts. In second section how to make an assembly, and in third section how we are going to run it in the mechanism. So without any delay we'll get into the video. So first we are going to create the parts. So in this there are going to have four different parts along with one additional that we'll see in the later. The first part is the cam, the second part is the shaft, and the third part is the follower, and fourth part is the stopper. So in the same order I'm going to make CAD models, but while assembling we'll make a assemble shaft as a first part. So we'll start the CAD models. So I just click on the new command and rename it as cam. So I'm uncheck the default template. I just click OK and I'm selecting MMNS Path Solid Absolute and just click OK here. So before getting into the sketches, I would like to have the axis lines. So I'm creating the axis lines on all three different planes. Next, I'm going to click on the extrude command, select the front plane and moving to sketch view. So here I'm going to draw a circle in center point with the diameter of 50. So just adjacent side I'm going to draw another circle with the diameter of 30, and this distance is going to be as 40. So we have two different circles. One is the bigger end of the cam and another one is smaller end of the cam. So to connect this, I'm going to have a tangent line which tangents with both the circles. So I just make tangent. Now we are going to delete all the non-required components from this model. So here we have solid cam which we is going to use. In this I'm going to have click OK here. I just make an extrude of 5 mm in symmetrical conditions and just click OK. Now we are going to have a hole in between of this larger end to the shaft passes. So I just click on the hole command, select the surface, and also I'm going to hold the control button and I'm selecting this axis, so the hole will be exactly at the axis point. So the diameter of the hole will be as 25 mm and the distance is not a matter because it passes through it all, and just click OK here. So a cam has been ready. Now I'm going to modify the color for the cam. I'm going to give red color for this cam. So this is our cam which is going to use in the cam and follow mechanism. The next part I'm going to create is a shaft. Shaft is also I'm going to click on the uncheck the use default template and I'm going to click MMNS Spot Solid Absolute. MMNS is defines as millimeter, Newton and seconds. It defines the length, force and time units. So in the shaft also, before getting to model, I'm going to have the axis lines first in all three different planes. Next I'm going to have an extrude command, select the front plane and moving to the sketch view. Here the diameter of the shaft is 25 mm since we have given the diameter of hole in the cam as larger end as 25 mm. I just click OK here, and the length of the cam is going to be considered as 50 mm in symmetrical condition. So just click OK, and for the shaft I'm going to use the same color, same material for the shaft. The third part I'm going to create is the follower. In follower, I would like to have it in a single part, but in case if you wanted to try it in the as a separate parts of a follower and to make it an assembly, of course you can do. Here I'm going to make it as a single CAD component. So I'll uncheck this default template and click OK, and I'm going to select MMNS Part Solid Absolute. Select it. So to create cam, first I'm going to create the axis lines. Next, I'm going to select the revolve command, select the front plane, and moving to sketch view. Since we are going to have a revolve command, I'm going to draw an axis line in vertical condition, and I'm going to have a corner rectangle which connects coincidence with the horizontal plane as well as the vertical. The diameter of the shaft is going to be has 20 mm and the length is going to has 200. Let me consider this as 40. I just click OK. So a shaft kind of a structure has been created here. The next I'm going to have a small plunger at the top of this follower. So select an extrude and click on that. I'm going to click a circle with a diameter of 10 mm here and click OK. So the extrude length of this particular plunger area is I'm going to have for 150 mm. The next thing I'm going to have a extrude cut to have a space where we are going to set up the follower. So click on the extrude, select the front plane, moving to sketch view, selecting the corner rectangle, and I'm going to make a rectangle here. The width of, let me get coincidence with this horizontal line. The width of the cut I would like to have it for 20, or else even it is for 15 is much enough, and this distance would be as 7.5, and the height I would like to have for 150. I just click OK here so that you can able to see the material has been removed by default. I would like to make it into symmetric and the material has been removed in both the sides. So the next thing I'm going to have a whole command here based on the center plane, and it's going to be constrained with the bottom plane as well as the side plane. Sorry. Yeah. So the distance from the side plane is going to be considered as 0, and from the center plane it's going to be considered as 50, or I'm going to have it as 75. So the diameter I'm going to consider for this hole as 10, and it's going to be on a symmetrical way in both sides. I'll just click OK here. So the next thing I'm going to create here is a point. As of now, I'll create this point, but in later while we are going to a mechanism, I will explain why the particular point has been used. So for creating a point, I'm selecting the surface and also I'm selecting the axis line. So the point where the axis line and the surface get intersects, this point has been created. So I just click OK here, and this is the point which we have created. So the next thing, we are going to create a follower, selecting the front plane, moving to the sketch view, and for this I'm going to create a circle as a references, and I'm going to draw the follower. The diameter I'm going to consider as 150 mm, and also I'm going to have a hole here as well, which is equals to the diameter of the particular hole which we have drawn. And this distance is going to be considered as 5 mm in symmetry, since this is going to be equal to the width of the cam which we have designed in the cam space. So next I would like to reduce the height of the hole so it will be much better to view. So I'm going to reduce this as 10 mm minimum, as lower going to have it as 40. Regenerate the model and the cam is ready. So next I'm going to have a pin design here. For that I'm going to select the extrude command in the front plane, select the circle and going to circle here as same it is. Just click click OK here, and I'm going to have this to be as a symmetric with a length of 60 or 55. 50 is fine. Yeah. So now you can able to see this is going to be kind of a plunger, and we have a disc, and this plunger and disc is connected through a pin. You can able to make it into a separate different parts, and you can have it in an assembly, but here for the time constraint I have made it in a single part CAD. So the next is I'm going to create a stopper part. So click on the new command, stopper, and check the use default template, click OK, and I'm going to change it to MMNS path solid. MMNS path solid, absolute. Just click OK here. Now for this also I'm going to create the axis lines, and I'm going to click on the extrude. On the top plane I'm going to have a rectangle here, a center rectangle, but it could be as a square. So I'm going to have it a width of 100 cross 100, and the width will be like 10 mm, even 5 is much enough. And here also I'm going to have a hole at center of the point. So I'm selecting the surface and the axis with the diameter of 10. I'm going to have a depth as same as it is. In stopper also I would like to create a point at the bottom surface which connects with the axis line. So these 2 points, the point one which we have created in the follower and the second point which we have created in the stopper, will be helpful in the mechanism analysis. We'll check how it is going to work. So I hope you have understand how to create the paths for the cam and follower mechanism. This is the same process you can follow in everyone. So next I'm going to create an assembly file. So click on the new command, select the assembly, and going to name it as cam and follower. Have an underscore between of the words for better understanding, and just uncheck the use default template, click OK, and this is also going to have MMNS arms assembly design obsolete. So just click OK here, and assembly file has been created. Now I'm going to create the access lines for assemblies. And I'm going to click on the assembly command. In this I'm going to select the shaft first, so which is going to be get assembled. The shaft is going to have a pin connection, so I select the pin command here, and selecting the middle axis to be constrained with the middle axis. And for the translation I'm selecting the front plane of the shaft to the front plane of the assembly to get coincidence. So the second part I'm going to assemble here is the cam. For the cam I selected here. For cam also we are going to use pin connection. So switch to pin connection, select the center axis of the cam, and select the axis of the shaft. Okay, it has been selected of from the assembly. I would like to select it from the shaft. So here you can able to confirm it has been selected with the shaft. For the translation I'm going to select the front plane of the cam to front plane of the shaft to be as a coincidence. So just click OK. And for the next part I'm going to assemble the follower. For the follower I'm going to have a slider connection, not a pin connection. I'm selecting the slider. In slider I'm going to have a constraint with axis of slide follower to the assembly system axis, and for the rotation I'm going to constrain the front plane of the follower to the front plane of the assembly. So you can check here. Please make sure you're using it for assembly when you're going for follower. In case if you have a axis as a constraint and the for plane constraint with the cam, then the mechanism will not work as we expected. So just click OK here, and to verify I'm going to click on the drag component and going to check whether the follower is having only 1 degree of freedom that it can able to move up and down. Apart from this you should not have any other degrees of freedom for the followers. So the next part, then the last part I'm going to assemble here is the stopper. For the stopper we are going to have a rigid connection, and all the connections we are going to give through the assembly itself. So I'm disable all the plane axis and points, so I'm selecting only the planes. From the top plane to the top plane of the assembly I would like to have a distance like 250 mm. We can move it to the front view so it will be better understanding. This distance is not at all enough, so I'm moving to 325, even more better, 350 or 400. 400 height is much fine. So we are going to a new constraint, select the side plane to the side plane of the assembly and make it as coincidence, and the front plane to the front plane is also to be as a coincidence. front plane of the stopper to front plane of the assembly to be a coincidence. So now we can able to see a perfect mechanism of the cam which we have designed. Next, this is the assembly method to assemble the parts for a cam and follower mechanism. So next we are moving to the third section where we are going to have a mechanism, but we are not directly going for a mechanism. In mechanism also we need to define some constraints. Let us see how to make it. So for the mechanism, I'm going to go to mechanism from the applications workbench. Here first thing we need to design the cam. So I'm selecting the cams. In first cam we need to define what are the surfaces of cam going to be in contact. So I'm select this surface, hold the control button, select the second surface, third surface and fourth surface and just click OK. So you can able to see a violet color lines with an arrow mark has been indicated and the particular surface has been assigned for the cam 1. For the second cam, select the cam 2 and select the surfaces of this follower in all 360 degrees and just click OK. So you can able to see three violet color lines which is there along with the arrow mark towards the cam. So just click OK. You can able to see the connection has been enabled. So this is the process how we are going to make a cam connection without making this particular step. If you wanted to run a cam, then it won't work. So the next thing, I'm going to have a spring mechanism inside in the area of plunger, because whenever the cam rotates and when the cam reaches this maximum point, this follower will move towards upward, but when it comes to the lower point the follower won't return back. In case if the mechanism is working with the help of a gravitational force, it may comes back, but it was not 100% sure in all the times. So to ensure the follower is returning back, we need to have a spring mechanism here. So that's why we have created two different points. One point is on the follower and one point is on the stopper to have the spring. Even for the spring you can use a helical sweep, but that will be as a solid spring where it won't have any flexibility. So to have a flexible spring in the mechanism itself, there is an option called as a springs. So to select the spring, and for the references we need to select two different vertices. That's why we have created two different points here. So select the first point, hold the control button and select the second point. You can able to see the path of the spring which you are going to create. So this is the purpose of the points which we have created in the part level itself when we are designing for the follower and the stopper. So the next, for the K factor, always try to have a K factor in a positive value. I'm going to have it as 1.5. Next, the unstretch. This is defines the length of the spring, and it also affects the number of turns in the spring. For example, if I make it as 70, we can able to see the diameter of the spring also reduced and the thickness is also reduced. I'm going to have it back as 150 as well. In case if you wanted to adjust the diameter, you can select the adjust icon diameter and you can make that diameter also to be as a change. Instead of 30, if you make it as 5, the spring diameter will be becomes 5. Here I'm going to follow the same 30 mm diameter as a spring itself and just click OK. So I hope you have understand how to create a spring, flexible spring in the mechanism also. So please make sure, or else without the spring force the follower won't return back to its original positions. So the next final step, we are going to assign a servo motor to the shaft which we have created. So select the servo motor, click on the shaft axis, change the profile details to angular velocity and the coefficient value as 15 degrees per second. So as of now, we have completed all the mechanisms, constraints and the linkages which we need to give for the cam and follower mechanism. Next, the final step, we are going to run the application of the mechanism. So click on the mechanism analysis, change the start time would be as a 0 and change the end time how it is required for you. I'm going to have it as 250 and I'm going to click run command. So once I click on the run command, you can able to see the cam and follower mechanism is running as smooth as it is. So whenever the cam is rotating, it reaches to the maximum point, it pushes the follower towards upward direction, and when it comes to the negative side, due to the spring force, the follower comes to its original condition. So this is how a spring with a spring, a cam and a follower mechanism is going to work. I hope you have enjoyed this video and you like this video and you have understand a lot about the cam and follower mechanism. If you really like this video, please hit on the like button, and if you have any questions or the comments, please post it on a comment box, and also share it with your mechanical friends who is very much interested in CAD models. So I would like to thank you once again for this watching this video, and also I will see in the next video as soon as possible. Thank you so much, and bye bye.